Again, my name is Ricardo Guzman. I'm president of NALC Branch 70, the San Diego branch, and I'm going to be covering items 15, 16, and 17. And that those three items pertain to light duty assignments. And in order to understand what should be in those item numbers, you need to understand and know what's in Article 13 of the National Agreement. And with that said, I'm going to cover a couple of the important parts of Article 13. So let's start off with Article 13(1)B, and it states, the United States Postal Service and the Union, recognizing their responsibility to aid and assist deserving full-time, regular, or part-time flexible employees who through illness or injury are unable to perform their regularly assigned duties. With that language right there, what you want to put in item 15 is you want to put that the United States Management and NALC branch, and whatever branch number you are, shall establish by consultation based on work availability and Article 13, the maximum number of possible light duty assignments. You have that in there, you got everything covered because you stated that everything on the 13 is going to apply to your local. Okay, now we go on to section Article 13(2)A. It states, any full-time, regular, or part-time flexible employee recuperating from a serious illness or injury and temporarily unable to perform the assigned duties may voluntarily submit a written request to the installation head. And that's to the postmaster, folks, not to the supervisor, not to the station manager. It has to be to the postmaster for temporary assignment to the light duty or other assignment. The request shall be supported by medical statement from a licensed physician or by a written statement from a licensed chiropractor stating, when possible, the anticipated duration of the convalescence period. So again, folks, you can have the best language in your local under item 15, 16, and 17. But if your carriers don't know that they have to submit the request and it has to be submitted in writing to the postmaster, along with the documentation, the medical documentation, that they're not going to get that light duty. Okay, so that needs to be made very clear to all the carriers to put in that written request. Now, let's move over to 13(2)C. It states, installation heads shall show the greatest consideration for full-time, regular, or part-time flexible employees requiring light duty or other assignments, giving each request careful attention and reassign such employees to the extent possible in the employee's office. When a request is refused, the installation head shall notify the concerned employee in writing, stating the reasons for the inability to reassign the employee. So again, if they do not provide light duty work to a letter carrier that's been injured, they have to explain in writing why they're not providing them that work. Okay, why are they refusing the individual's request? So now let's move on to item 13.3A. And in the second sentence, it states, these negotiations should explore ways and means to make adjustments in normal assignments to convert them to light duty assignments. So for a letter carrier, the normal assignment is their route. So if, for example, if a letter carrier gets injured and cannot carry the route, but can case the route, then that assignment should be made to where the carrier comes in and cases the route every morning that they're assigned to work, and then they give off the route because they're unable to because of their limitations. But in a lot of stations, management will tell a carrier, well, you're not going to be able to do any work on your route because you're injured. Well, that's not true. That's not what the contract says. So you want to make sure you incorporate language to cover that in your local, and I'll get into that in a little bit. Now we go to 13.3C, and in the middle of that one, there's this one sentence. It states, to ensure that no assigned full-time regular employee will be adversely affected. So again, to ensure no assigned full-time. Well, that includes the letter carrier that got hurt. They should not be adversely affected. So again, their route, if they can do any work on their route, they should be able to do the work on their route. So for example, let's say that their limitation is that they can only carry for 2 hours. Well, they should be able to go in, case their route, and then go carry those 2 hours on their route, and then come back, and then they can then be assigned to do other work within their work restrictions. But again, we want to make sure we have language that covers that in item number 16. So let's go to what kind of language we could put in there. So let's quote exactly what's in the national agreement and state that the installation head shall show the greatest consideration for full-time, regular, or part-time flexible carriers requiring light duty or other assignments, giving each request careful attention and reassigning such carriers to the greatest extent possible in accordance with Article 13. Then we can add, because of what we've been talking about in regards to the carrier being able to do the work on their own assignment, then we can add the language. First consideration should be given to modification to the employee's regular work assignment, which in our case would be our routes. Okay, then we can add language that management and branch, whatever branch number you are, will consult and to assure that no regularly assigned member will be adversely affected. So again, we can then take that opportunity to make sure that that injured employee gets to work on their own assignment, plus that they don't try to do things that hurt other letter carriers. For example, if they tell the carrier, okay, when you come back, I want you, or when you're done casing your route, I want you to go over and in the afternoon case on this other assignment. And by doing so, then they make that route into 7 hours. And so the next day when the regular comes on, now that regular is going to be an hour short. That would be adversely affecting the carrier. So we have to make sure that we monitor that. And if we have situations like that, we have to bring it to the shop steward's attention. We go into D. So every effort shall be made to reassign the concerned employee within the employee's present craft or occupational group, even if such assignment reduces the number of hours for the supplemental workforce. That's in the contract. So again, it's good to include it in your local, just to remind management that if you're working CCAs and you're taking away hours from an injured employee, that would be a violation of the national agreement and of course the local. Then we can also add language like, after all efforts are exhausted in this area, consideration will be given to reassign to another craft or occupational group within the same installation. So we do whatever we can to get our letter carriers the work that they deserve, even though they're injured. So, and that last part that I added in there is based on the language that's in 13.4a. And that very last sentence on that one states, after all efforts are exhausted in this area, consideration will be given to reassign to another craft or occupational group within the same installation. Again, we want to make sure that our injured employees get the hours that they deserve. And now under item 17, this one here, you want to put in, again, the title of this one here is the identification of assignments that are to be considered light duty within each craft represented in the office. So in our craft, in the letter carrier craft, you want to make sure that you put everything that a letter carrier can do. So the very first thing is obviously work on their own assignment. Second thing is, are there any auxiliary routes in your office? They should be working on the auxiliary route. How about casing on vacant routes? For example, there's 3 sick calls, but they can only cover 2 routes. That leaves one route uncovered. Well, that injured employee could go case that route after they case their route. They can do collections. They can do a lot of units keep their apartments updated by labeling the boxes. They can go out and do that. They can label the carrier cases. For example, a lot of carriers have cases that are old and beat up. They can relabel those cases. They can do the red books. They can do gassing of vehicles. They can update route books, express mail. I mean, every job that a letter carrier does that an injured employee can do should be in that item number 17. And when you word it, make sure you add in there that light duty assignments may include, but are not limited to, and then have your entire list listed. That way, by adding the language, but not limited to, if something else comes up, then they'll be able to do that also. So that ends my covering of our items 15, 16, and 17. And it's back to you, Brother Charlie. And thank you all for taking the time to educate yourself, because knowledge is power. Go ahead, brother.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Now, coming up the bat, one of the smartest and most energetic people I know, Miss Danna, the Cajun Queen Chambless, President, Branch 4, Nashville, Tennessee, who will be telling us about items 18 and 19.
Well, thank you, Brother Charlie, for that introduction. Hello, brothers and sisters. I'm Danna Chambless, President of Branch 4, Nashville, Tennessee. I will be going over items 18 and 19 of the 22 items you may negotiate locally in your LMOU. Item 18 refers to Article 12, Section 5C4, the identification of assignments comprising a section when it is proposed reassigned within an installation, employees' access to the needs of a section. This article outlines the reassignment process for full-time employees who are deemed access to the needs of a section within an installation. It specifies the process for identifying sections, the rights of accessed employees, and the rules for bidding on vacancies. Access employees are reassigned starting with a junior employee in the same craft. They are also retained their seniority and are eligible to bid on vacancies. If they choose not to bid, they will be assigned to a residual vacancy based on preference if multiple assignments are available. Employees can return to their original section upon the first residual vacancy, provided they bid on available positions at their former grade level. Failure to bid ends their retreat rights, which are relevant only within the identified sections for reassignment purposes. Remember, when you're negotiating your LMOU, you may define separate sections within your installation for accessing purposes. And this could be done by zip codes or delivery units. But if it is not defined in your LMOU, a section will refer to the installation and the excess employee will not have the retreat rights. A few samples of proposals are: a section is defined as a delivery unit throughout the blank post office. Or you can say each carrier's pay location shall be considered a separate section. Another example would be, as provided in Article 12 of the National Agreement, the identification of assignments comprising a section shall be by zip code. Or maybe the entire installation, including any stations or branches which may be established, shall be considered as one section. And those are only a few examples. So you can review other LMOUs for ideas on the wording and figure out which would work best for you and your members. The next item I'll go over is item 19, the assignment of employee parking spaces. This pertains to Article 20, which outlines provisions regarding parking in the 2023 National Agreement, establishing a national study committee to enhance existing parking programs and security measures for employees. It emphasizes the intention to negotiate the allocation of existing parking spaces for letter carriers rather than the construction of additional spaces. There are various allocation possibilities. One may be assigned spaces by seniority, or assigned spaces on a first-come, first-served basis, or you can assign spaces according to the route the carrier is scheduled for. Some LMOUs provide a designated parking space for union officials. This is not a one-size-fits-all. As the president, you will know the needs of your offices. There are some offices that may require off-site parking. Make sure to do your homework before negotiations. If you're asking the Postal Service to lease an available parking area, research some available lots that will work in order to make some recommendations. An office may require employees to park on the street where a permit is required. You may try to negotiate that the Postal Service will pay for the permits, or maybe they could work out a deal with the city to pay a flat rate for the employees' parking spots. Or if employees are required to pay for parking, you may be able to negotiate that they are reimbursed by the Postal Service. Like I said earlier, you know your offices and their needs for parking. Make sure you have multiple proposals ready when negotiating. Thank you for allowing me time to discuss these items.
Thank you, sister. All right, for return engagement, Mr. Corey will be discussing items 20, 21, and 22. Take it away, Corey.
Dang, I'm up again already.
Yes, sir.
If anybody has a Red Bull or a 5-hour energy, you can go on and take that now, because this next part is the redheaded stepchild of the 22 items. 20, 21, and 22. But again, if you get on concernlettercarriers.com, Mallory has put in almost 600 LMOUs. This one will be good, because yesterday when we were going over certain things, a lot of people had some very interesting things in their LMOU. I'll talk about a few of them. But the first one's going to be 30B20. The determination as to whether annual leave to attend union activities requested prior to determination of the choice vacation schedule is to be part of the total choice vacation plan. Again, that's the determination as to whether annual leave to attend union activities. And y'all probably going to be thinking, we've already talked about that in item 8. This is not the same as item 8. This is completely different. And so we're going to go to the contract. Article 10.3F is where we're going to go to, okay? 10.3F. Jury duty or NALC convention interrupting vacation. Article 10.3F provides that if an employee serves on jury duty, attends a national, state, or regional convention or assembly during the employee's scheduled choice vacation period, the employee is entitled to another choice vacation period selection or selections. However, that employee cannot deprive any other employee of his or her scheduled vacation period or periods. The provisions of this section should be read in conjunction with any applicable LMOU provisions established pursuant to Article 30B8, which is what Kamitra did earlier, and 30B20, which is what I'm doing now. Those sections authorize an LMOU to determine whether those absences will be charged to the choice vacation period and whether annual leave for union activities requested prior to the determination of the choice vacation period will be part of the local vacation plan. See Article 24, employees on leave with regard to union business, and that's what we're going to talk about here. So Article 24 on page 24-2 of the JCAM at the very bottom. Article 30B20, which is what we're talking about. The determination as to whether annual leave to attend union activities requested prior to the determination of the choice vacation schedule is to be a part of the total choice vacation plan. Union activities in Article 30B20 differ from the national and state conventions addressed by Article 30B8, which is what Ms. Kamitra did earlier. Union activities may include a wide variety of union programs other than conventions, for example, training seminars, COPs. If you go to advanced formal step A training, advocate training, things of that nature, it'd be best if you could go ahead and get into your local that those individuals will not be counted on your choice vacation. I know that Walt said that he had one where he has one exemption. I think James Henry said he has in his out of 4 shop stewards and assistant shop stewards, they have 2 exceptions. 2 will be allowed off and will not count against the complement. So that's definitely something I would get into those locals and see how they handle those things, because with the training the CLC is going to be doing when we take over, we're going to be doing a lot of stuff. And so it'd be good to go ahead and get those people in those locals now, so that when we're doing all this training, they won't count against your complement. And that'd be good stuff for you. So again, thanks, Mallory, for doing all that work. Almost 600 locals. Did I say that earlier? That she put in there. She's fantastic job. There's no better way to learn than looking at those locals. There's no better way to learn, to see what other people are doing, the things that they've gotten in those locals. It's worth a shot. It's worth a shot. All right, 30B 21 and 22 kind of are similar if you look in the language of the JCAM, which we will. But 30B 21, those other items which are subject to local negotiations as provided in the craft provisions of this agreement. And 22, local implementation of this agreement relating to seniority, reassignments, and posting. I'm going to read a lot of stuff, but if you go to the next page, it tells you what you're going to need to look at, because you're not going to remember what I'm fixing to read to you. But it tells you what you're going to need to look at. Articles 41 and 12. See the discussion of Article 30B 21 and 22 under Article 41, 1A3, 1A5, 1B2, 1B3, 1C4, and 3O in Article 12.5C4. So we're just going to go ahead and get this done. Y'all know how much I love reading. So we're going to read a little bit. The language that it talked about, 41, 1A3, local implementation. NELC branches may establish local rules regarding fixed or rotating days off and the scope of posting and bidding by section or installation wide through local implementation procedures under Article 30 of the National Agreement. Such rules are then contained in an LMOU, which must be read in conjunction with Article 41. Fixed or rotating days off are negotiated pursuant to Article 30B2, and the scope and method of posting are negotiated pursuant to Article 30B 21 and 22, which is what we're talking about here. 41 1A5. Whether or not a letter carrier route will be posted when there is a change of more than 1 hour in starting time shall be negotiated locally. Local implementation, local negotiations pursuant to Article 30B 21 and 30B 22 may determine whether a route will be posted when there is a change of more than 1 hour in starting time. And Ricardo Guzman stated that, I believe in his local, if I'm right, Ricardo, that you have in your local, they cannot post a route if it's had a change of an hour, right?
That is correct. And it doesn't say an hour. We just say that a route cannot be posted because of a change in begin torque.
Okay, and so that's something that y'all need to look into. Branch presidents, if y'all are looking at locals, things of that nature, it's in here. You might as well address it. I mean, that's something they have in their local. It probably will drive management crazy, but it's up for grabs if it's not in your local. 41 1A, and this is 7. Now, this is not one of the things, but again, as with anything, if you want to be good at it, you need to look at the language. You need to read the language, continue to read the language because it's confusing as hell. Just continue to read the language. And I'm going to read 41 1A7, and there's a reason why, because it's not added in the language under Article 30B 22. Unassigned full-time carriers and full-time flexible carriers may bid on duty assignments posted for bids by employees in the craft. If the employee does not bid, assignment of the employee may be made to any vacant duty assignment for which there was no senior bidder in the same craft and installation. In the event there is more than one vacancy due to the lack of bids, these vacancies may be filled by assigning the unassigned full-time carriers and full-time flexible carriers who may exercise their preference by use of their seniority. In the event that there are more unassigned full-time carriers and full-time flexible carriers than vacancies, these vacancies may be filled by assigning the unassigned employee by seniority. And the reason I read that is because on the next page, it refers you to that, even though it's not in the language under 30B22, which is why it's so confusing. 41.1B, method of posting. 2, posting and bidding for duty assignments and or permanent changes in fixed non-work days shall be installation-wide unless local agreements or established past practice provide for sectional bidding or other local method currently in use. Local implementation scope of posting and bidding. Article 41.1B2 provides that posting and bidding for duty assignments and or permanent changes in fixed non-work days shall be installation-wide unless the parties have negotiated a different method, such as bidding by specific sections, pursuant to Article 30B21 and 30B22. Now, I don't know have any idea if anybody is in one of those S&DCs. Maybe y'all can chime in on how y'all do that, but we don't have that here in Nashville, so we won't be negotiating anything to that effect. 41.1C4, the successful bidder shall work the duty assignment as posted. Unanticipated circumstances may require a temporary change in assignment. This same rule shall apply to carrier technician assignments unless the local agreement provides otherwise. Carrier technician assignments. The 5 routes on a carrier technician string or group which constitute a full-time duty assignment are normally carried in the posted sequence. In the absence of any LMOU provisions or binding past practice concerning this issue, Article 5, management has discretion to move a carrier technician off the assignment he or she is working in the regular rotation to another route on the carrier technician string. If a carrier technician is moved to another route on the string, that route becomes the carrier's assignment on that day for the purposes of Article 41C4 and the application of the overtime provisions of Article 8.5. If a carrier technician is moved to another route on the string with a different starting time, she still retains and still entitled to be paid for the hours of his or her regular schedule. However, if appropriate advance notice of a schedule change is given, the carrier receives out-of-schedule pay instead. See the explanation of out-of-schedule pay under Article 8.4. Management may not move the carrier technician off the string entirely unless the LMOU so provides or unanticipated circumstances arise. It is not an unanticipated circumstance when the regular carrier whose route the carrier technician is working comes in and works his or her non-scheduled day. And so that's the language that's above 30B22. Now, if you look in different locals, they're going to show you different things as far as those T6 assignments. I know that I spoke to somebody, I was talking about this yesterday, which is bizarre. But they said in their local, they have it to where a T6, if the regular carrier comes in, they can bump the T6 completely off the string. And at that time, the T6 can bump a CCA off an opt, which is bizarre because that's completely not contractual. Look in these LMOUs if you want some different ideas as far as the T6 assignment, bumping T6s off, what they're going to do. If that's something you're interested in. If it's not, I wouldn't even entertain that. But the last part is the JCAM 12.5C4, accessing from a section. Article 12.5C4 provides for special rules when employees are accessed from a section. These rules are only applicable when a local memorandum of understanding, LMOU, identifies separate sections within an installation for accessing purposes as authorized in Article 3B18. They do not apply when junior unassigned full-time regular letter carriers are assigned under the provisions of Article 41.1A7, nor do they apply when full-time flexible employees are moved between sections since they are flexible reporting times and reporting locations. And then the last is restricted bidding in Article 41.3.0, and this is very important. 41.3.0, especially with you got a lot of 6-day counts going on right now. When you look at bumping and retreat rights and things to that of that effect, how you're going to handle retreat rights, how you're going to handle these bump downs as we call them in Nashville. But restricted bidding in Article 41.3.0 The scope of postings under the provisions of Article 4130 can also be affected when an LMOU identifies sections for accessing purposes. National Arbitrator Snow ruled in C 15248 that if a branch has installation-wide bidding for a vacant or newly created duty assignments, then assignments made available for bids under the provisions of Article 4130 could also be posted on an installation-wide basis. An exception to this general rule occurs if a branch has defined separate sections for accessing purposes and if an employee has been accessed from the section under the provisions of Article 12.5C4. Since Article 12.5C4C provides the reassigned employee with retreat rights in such cases, as long as an employee has such retreat rights to the section, bidding under the provisions of Article 4130 is also limited to employees from the section at the same salary level as the vacancy. And so you have to have that language in your LMOU. If you don't, then it doesn't count. You have to have that language 4130 in your LMOU as far as retreat rights and things to that effect. So that's very important. So that's all I've got. 20,
Corey?
21, 22.
I have to correct you real quick. You said that these LMOUs are posted on the CLC's website. They're not.
They're
They
not.
are
Okay.
on the Google Drive. And they're also on your website. They're on Formate Arbitration, but the CLC is not hosting them. We just have them in the
Okay.
CLC Google Drive for now.
They're in the CLC Google Drive and the Formate Arbitration website. Is that right?
Yeah.
So the Google Drive on CLC. I don't know how you
And-
get to
and
that because I don't know anything.
It's in the comments right now, and then afterwards, anybody who's watching this post live, it'll be in the comments there as well. It's going to be the pinned comment on the YouTube channel, and it'll be one of the top comments on the Facebook as well.
All right. So y'all get on there and look at those locals. That's going to help you more than anything else, seeing how other branches do it, kind of fit it to what your needs are. Thank you, Mallory. That's all I got, Charlie.